There's an explanation for why certain individuals rise at 5 a.m. with zeal in their gaze, while others repeatedly snooze their alarms and face the day with trepidation. It's not about genes or fortune, it's about having a clear goal. When you possess a significant objective, everything transforms. You don't seek inspiration, you gain drive. You don't require constant nudges, you embody the drive itself. That's the essence of cultivating a triumphant attitude. It doesn't commence with a schedule or a fresh exercise regimen or a guide on self-improvement. It initiates with a straightforward, often challenging inquiry: what drives me? We inhabit a society fixated on the method: how to accomplish more, how to rise earlier, how to form habits, how to maintain efficiency. But here's the reality: no quantity of methodology holds weight if you lack comprehension of your motivation. Purpose imbues your actions with significance. It provides context to the struggle. Without it, discipline seems like a penalty, but with it, discipline transforms into a proclamation. Consider a firefighter rushing into a blazing structure. To an observer, that appears reckless, but to the firefighter, it's entirely logical. Why? Because their focus isn't on the flames, it's on the individual they're rescuing. Purpose redefines the issue. It doesn't diminish the intensity of the fire, but it renders the fear worthwhile to confront. Now relate that to your existence. If you aim to foster a triumphant mindset in 30 days, commence by discovering the fire worth rushing into. Find something that renders the struggle meaningful. This isn't about pursuing success, it's about defining what success signifies to you. If your definition of success is merely borrowed from online influences, you'll abandon it at the first sign of difficulty. But if your success is grounded in something personal, something emotional, you'll persist even in the absence of applause, likes, or an audience. Purpose sustains you through the silence. And here's the crucial point: your motivation doesn't need to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be noble or world-altering. It simply needs to be genuine. For some, it's proving to themselves that they can evolve into the person they once doubted they could be. For others, it's setting an example for their children or honoring the sacrifices made for them. Some are propelled to transform the world. Others are driven to alter their family's narrative. Both are valid. What's important is that it originates from within. So, how do you uncover your motivation? You begin by listening, not to the external noise, but to the internal quiet. Ask yourself, what breaks my heart? What ignites my passion? What would I continue doing even without monetary compensation? What's the narrative I wish to convey with my life when all is said and done? If you've never posed these questions to yourself, that's acceptable. But understand, until you do, your mindset will always be reactive, not resilient. You'll keep drifting instead of directing. A person with a robust motivation can withstand almost anything. Consider those who've overcome the odds, individuals who emerged from nothing, who rebounded after failure, heartbreak, or loss. They didn't possess flawless plans, they didn't always know the next step, but they understood why they couldn't quit. They harbored something within them more potent than the obstacle before them. That's the core of a triumphant mindset, the capacity to opt for significance over mood, purpose over pressure. Purpose simplifies your decisions. It silences distractions and provides a lens through which to evaluate everything. If something doesn't resonate with your purpose, you release it. That's not discipline, that's direction, a compass, not a cage. Purpose doesn't confine you, it liberates you from squandering time on things that don't propel you forward. And here's another insight. Your motivation isn't a one-time revelation. It's an ongoing relationship. You don't uncover it and then forget it. You revisit it, refine it, and reconnect with it because life evolves, seasons shift, you mature, and your purpose evolves with you. What propelled you 5 years ago might not drive you today. That's not failure, that's evolution. If you aim to transform your mindset in 30 days, that's commendable. But don't merely alter your actions, change the reasons behind them. Otherwise, you're merely repainting the walls of a house with a fractured foundation. Your routines, habits, and plans are only as robust as the motivation behind them. Purpose converts random effort into aligned energy. It transforms a goal into a mission. And when your actions are tied to a mission, you present yourself differently. You speak differently, think differently, and perceive setbacks as data, not defeat. You cease chasing motivation and begin living with intention. That's when people start to notice a difference in you. They'll inquire about your actions, but the truth is, it's not about what you're doing. It's about what you believe. And belief is contagious. When you comprehend your motivation, you become magnetic. You don't just attract attention, you inspire direction. You lead, even without trying. That's the influence of initiating with purpose. It's not merely a mindset tactic, it's the foundation of every resilient leader, every enduring transformation. So, if you're earnest about cultivating a triumphant mindset, don't commence with your schedule, start with your soul. Ask the challenging questions, gain clarity, and be honest. The strength of your mindset will always be rooted in the strength of your purpose. Purpose isn't optional, it's essential. And once you inhale it, there's no reverting to a life of complacency. Every day, we engage in conversations with the most influential person in our lives, and most of us don't even realize it. That person is ourselves, our internal dialogue, the stories we tell ourselves, the words we repeat quietly, the beliefs we've absorbed. These shape everything: our confidence, our choices, our relationships, and our future. If you want to cultivate a triumphant mindset, you must begin with the voice in your head, because belief isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Here's the truth. Most people never realize that belief isn't something you either possess or lack, it's something you build. And that means anyone can do it. It's not about being born confident, it's about choosing to believe before the evidence appears. That's the paradox of growth. You don't wait for proof to believe, you believe to create the proof. It's easy to say, I just don't believe in myself. The real question is, why? Where did that doubt originate? You weren't born doubting yourself. You learned to doubt, from rejection, from failure, from the time someone told you you weren't good enough. And over time, that voice stuck. It started to sound like your own voice, but it was never truly yours. And the good news is, if it was learned, it can be unlearned. That's the work of building a triumphant mindset. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about returning to the truth of who you are before the world got into your head, before insecurity took root, before fear became a habit. It starts with paying attention to the script you're running on autopilot. If every time you face a challenge, your brain says, I'm not ready, I always mess this up, or I knew I couldn't do it, then guess what? You're reinforcing failure before it even happens. That's not intuition, that's conditioning. You wouldn't let someone speak to your best friend the way you speak to yourself, so why allow it in your own mind? That shift changes everything. Talk to yourself like someone you're responsible for, not someone you're trying to fix or criticize, but someone you're trying to protect, someone you're trying to build, because you are. You're building yourself day by day, word by word. Let me be clear, this isn't about being delusional. It's not about standing in front of a mirror saying things you don't believe. It's about speaking the truth in a way that builds you. It's about replacing old scripts with empowering ones. Instead of, I'm not good at this, you say, I'm still learning. Instead of, I always fail, you say, I'm figuring it out. Instead of, who am I to try this, you say, who am I not to? Language matters. Words shape reality. What you repeat becomes your reality. The most successful people in the world aren't the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who learned how to manage the narrative between their ears, because that narrative determines whether you see a setback as a sign to stop or a signal to grow. Winning mindsets don't avoid failure. They expect it. They welcome it, because they know belief isn't about being perfect, it's about being persistent. Let's make it practical. Imagine if, for the next 30 days, you spoke to yourself like someone who's capable, someone who adapts, someone who shows up no matter what. Imagine what would happen if you stopped waiting for confidence to show up after results and instead treated confidence like a decision, not a feeling, a decision. You wake up and you decide to believe in the version of yourself you're building, not the version others have labeled you. People will call it arrogance. Let them, because what they're really uncomfortable with is your refusal to stay in the box they built for you. And that's okay. You're not building a mindset for them, you're building it for you. You're rewriting the rules for how you see yourself. And when that changes, everything changes. Here's another truth. You won't always feel strong. That's normal. You'll have days when the voice of doubt gets loud, but that's not failure, that's practice. Every time you choose belief over fear, you're training your brain to operate at a higher level. You're creating neural pathways that say, I keep going. And that repetition, that's where confidence is born. Confidence isn't loud, it's not showy, it's quiet. It's the calm in your chest when the world gets noisy. It's the inner voice that says, we've been here before, we'll figure it out again. That's what belief gives you. Not perfection, not certainty, but resilience. And the beautiful thing is, once you begin to believe in yourself, the world starts to shift around you. Not because the world changes, but because you do. You start to walk with your head up, you speak with clarity, you take risks, you say yes to things you used to run from, you say no to things that no longer serve you. And others feel that, they respond to it, because belief isn't just personal, it's powerful. It inspires others to believe too. So, if you want to build a winning mindset, remember, it starts with the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. And like any relationship, it takes consistency, honesty, and care. Speak to yourself with intention. Interrupt the old stories. Replace them with words that reflect where you're going, not where you've been. Because belief isn't something you wait for, it's something you choose, daily, deliberately. And when you do, you begin to see something extraordinary, the person you were always capable of becoming. And that person, we've been conditioned to think discomfort is a sign that something is wrong, that we should avoid it, that ease equals success, and that anything making us feel uncertain or exposed must be a red flag. But what if we've got it completely backward? What if discomfort isn't the problem, but the pathway? The truth is, every meaningful transformation in your life is on the other side of discomfort. Every skill you've ever learned, every breakthrough you've had, every goal you've achieved started with a moment that felt uncomfortable, awkward, risky, maybe even terrifying, but you did it anyway. And because you did, you grew. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It never has, and it never will. The comfort zone is where you stay when survival is your goal. But a winning mindset isn't built on survival. It's built on evolution. It's not about staying the same. It's about becoming more. And becoming more always requires stepping into the unknown. But here's where people get stuck. They think discomfort is a sign they're not ready, that they should wait until it feels easier, that the fear needs to go away first. But the people who win, the people who build unstoppable momentum, they figured something out. It's not about waiting for the fear to leave, it's about learning to move with it. You'll never be fearless, and that's not the goal. The goal is to be brave. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in the presence of it. It's standing in front of something that makes your hands shake and your heart race and saying, "This matters more than my comfort." Think about anyone you admire, an athlete, a leader, a creative, an entrepreneur. You know what they all have in common? At some point, they felt out of their depth. They didn't know how it would turn out. They didn't have a safety net, but they stepped forward anyway, not because it was easy, but because they were committed to growth. Because they understood that pressure is what turns coal into diamonds. It's what turns doubt into discipline. And maybe that's the real measure of a winning mindset. Not how often you win, but how often you're willing to lose in the name of progress. Not how many times you avoid fear, but how many times you choose to engage with it. Not because you enjoy it, but because you understand its purpose. Discomfort is a teacher. It exposes your limits, but more importantly, it shows you where the limits aren't. It reveals the parts of you that still need strengthening, the beliefs that need rewriting, the patterns that need breaking. Discomfort is data, and if you're brave enough to pay attention to it, it'll guide you straight to the next level. Most people don't listen. They run, they distract themselves, they numb the feeling. They wait for things to be just right, and in doing so, they miss the opportunity. They stay stuck, safe, unchallenged, but also unchanged. You cannot grow and stay comfortable at the same time. You have to pick one. And the good news? The more you choose discomfort intentionally, the less intimidating it becomes. You start to see it differently. You start framing it not as pain, but as preparation. You start to notice that every moment of doubt is also a moment of potential, that every difficult conversation is an opportunity to build courage, that every failure is just feedback, not a judgment, not a verdict, just a mirror showing you where to grow. There's no shortcut here. There's no secret sauce. It's repetition. It's leaning into discomfort often enough that it becomes familiar. Not because it ever gets easy, but because you've changed your relationship with it. You've stopped making it the enemy. You've started seeing it as a signal that you're doing something worth doing. When you're uncomfortable, it means you're stretching. You're stepping into a new identity. And that's never going to be smooth. It's messy, it's unpredictable, but it's also where transformation happens. Think about a seed planted in the dirt. It has to break through its shell. It has to push through the soil. It has to fight toward the light. That process is violent, it's gritty, but it's also beautiful because without the discomfort, the seed stays a seed. And you, without leaning into what challenges you, you stay a version of yourself that's easy but incomplete. And make no mistake, comfort is seductive. It's easy to convince yourself that it's fine to stay where you are, to coast, to stay at a job that doesn't stretch you, to hold back your opinion because you don't want to rock the boat, to avoid starting the project, the conversation, the change because now isn't the right time. But the right time rarely announces itself. Growth doesn't RSVP. It shows up uninvited, often dressed as fear, and your willingness to engage with it determines the quality of your life. So here's the shift. Instead of asking, how can I avoid discomfort, start asking, where is discomfort trying to lead me? What's the challenge I've been avoiding? What's the fear I've been protecting? What's the stretch I know I need to make? Because the mindset you build in those moments, the resilience, the trust in yourself, the ability to stay grounded when everything feels uncertain, that's the foundation of winning. Not the result, not the recognition, but the process of becoming someone who can handle more, who wants more, who's willing to grow no matter what it costs. And let's be honest, growth costs something. It costs ease, it costs certainty, it costs the illusion of control. But in return, it gives you strength, it gives you purpose, it gives you the quiet confidence of someone who knows they can handle whatever comes next. So, if you're uncomfortable right now, good. That means you're on the right track. Don't run from it, run with it. Because on the other side of discomfort is everything you've been asking for. A mindset, the results, the version of you you've always known you could become. And it starts not by avoiding the hard stuff, but by embracing it. People often say they want to change their lives. They want to grow, to succeed, to become the kind of person who is focused, consistent, and unstoppable. And then they wait. They wait for the right moment, the perfect plan, the motivation, the spark. But here's what separates those who only talk about change from those who actually create it. Action. Not just any action, intentional action, taken consistently, especially when it's not convenient. Because discipline isn't just about doing the hard things, it's about doing the right things repeatedly, even when no one's watching, especially then. We live in a world that idolizes intensity, big moves, bold leaps, the grand gesture. But when it comes to building a winning mindset, intensity is overrated. Consistency is what creates transformation. Because anyone can be great for a day, but it's what you do day after day that writes the story of your life. Not the highlight reel, not the moment of glory, but the process, the unglamorous, often unseen commitment to keep showing up. And here's the truth. Most people won't. Most people get inspired for a few days, maybe even a couple of weeks, but then life gets busy, results take time, and suddenly that initial spark burns out. That's where discipline steps in. It's the bridge between inspiration and execution, between a wish and a reality. People love to say, I just need to get motivated. But motivation is fleeting. It's emotional. Discipline is a decision. It's a contract you make with your future self. It says, no matter how I feel today, I will do what needs to be done. Because the version of you you're becoming is counting on the version of you today to follow through. Let's be honest, discipline isn't sexy. It's repetitive. It's quiet. It's often thankless, but it builds character. It builds momentum, and it builds results. You don't need to do it all at once. You just need to do the next right thing, the small thing, the boring thing, the thing that doesn't feel like it matters in the moment, but that, compounded over time, changes everything. People often underestimate the power of small, consistent effort. They think if it's not dramatic, it's not working. But look at nature. Look at how water carves through rock, not by force, but by persistence. That's what daily, intentional action looks like. Not dramatic, but undeniable. Think about a sculptor working with a block of marble. The first swing of the hammer doesn't reveal the masterpiece, neither does the second or the 10th. But every strike matters. Every chip brings the vision closer to reality. Your habits, your routines, your choices, those are the tools. The marble is your potential, and the process, that's discipline in motion. It's easy to romanticize the destination, to get fixated on the outcome, but a winning mindset doesn't obsess over results. It obsesses over effort. It trusts that if you keep showing up, the outcome will take care of itself. It understands that the goal is not to be perfect, it's to be present enough to keep taking the next step, even when it's not exciting, especially then. Now, here's the part most people miss. Discipline doesn't mean you never struggle. It doesn't mean you never miss a day. It means you don't let one bad day become your new normal. It means you don't negotiate with excuses. You fall? Yes, but you get back up faster. You don't make quitting a habit, you make recovering a habit. The discipline isn't just in the doing, it's in the returning. It's easy to romanticize the destination, to get fixated on the outcome, but a winning mindset doesn't obsess over results. It obsesses over effort. It trusts that if you keep showing up, the outcome will take care of itself. It understands that the goal is not to be perfect, it's to be present enough to keep taking the next step, even when it's not exciting, especially then. Now, here's the part most people miss. Discipline doesn't mean you never struggle. It doesn't mean you never miss a day. It means you don't let one bad day become your new normal. It means you don't negotiate with excuses. You fall? Yes, but you get back up faster. You don't make quitting a habit, you make recovering a habit. The discipline isn't just in the doing, it's in the returning. And it's not about hustle culture. It's not about burning out to prove a point. It's about alignment. It's about choosing the habits and actions that reflect who you want to be and then building your life around them. Discipline without alignment is punishment, but discipline with alignment, that's purpose in action. That's integrity. So how do you build this kind of daily momentum? You start by simplifying. Don't try to do everything. Just commit to doing something every day that moves you forward. Maybe it's 10 minutes of reading. Maybe it's one phone call you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a workout or a journal entry or just showing up on time. Small wins lead to big shifts because confidence isn't built by the outcome, it's built by the follow-through. Then you track it, not for vanity, not to impress anyone, but to see your own progress, to remind yourself that you're showing up. And when the day comes that you feel like quitting, and it will, you look at that streak, that record of effort, and you remember, you are someone who follows through. You don't break promises to yourself. That's the identity you're building. Not just someone who does disciplined things, but someone who is disciplined. And that's the power of consistent, intentional action. It changes who you believe you are. You're not waiting to feel like a leader or a creator or a finisher, you're becoming one, choice by choice. Every time you show up, you reinforce the identity. Every time you take action, even when it's hard, you're casting a vote for the future you. Eventually, others will notice. They'll ask how you became so focused, so grounded, so resilient. But the truth won't be found in a single moment. It'll be found in the days they didn't see, the mornings you showed up early, the nights you stayed in, the moments you wanted to give up but didn't. That's what discipline really is. Love and practice. Love for your future, love for your values, love for what matters most. And real love isn't always convenient. It's committed. It shows up every day. We often talk about growth as a straight line, a goal you aim for, a plan you follow, a finish line you eventually reach. But real growth, the kind that lasts, the kind that shapes who you are, is rarely clean. It's messy. It's filled with detours, setbacks, and moments that make you question everything. And if we're not careful, we miss the most valuable part of it, the learning, because growth doesn't come from the act alone. It comes from the awareness of what the act teaches you. If you want to build a winning mindset, you can't just move forward. You have to also look back, to pause, reflect, and extract the wisdom from what you've experienced. Because without reflection, effort is just repetition. But with reflection, effort becomes evolution. This is the pressure in our culture, to always be chasing the next thing. Hit one goal, set another. Get the promotion, chase the next one. Always building, always pushing. But what if we stopped just for a moment and asked, what did I learn from that? What did that experience teach me about who I am, what I need, what works, and what doesn't? Those questions, they're gold, because in the answers, you don't just find insight, you find clarity. And clarity is the fuel of a winning mindset. It's what helps you move forward with purpose instead of impulse. And most people skip this part. They confuse movement with progress. They keep climbing without asking if the ladder is leaning against the right wall. And so they get results but not fulfillment, achievement but not alignment. And they wonder why, even after the win, something still feels off. That's why intentional reflection is not optional, it's essential. It's not about overthinking, it's not about dwelling. It's about studying your own journey so you can make better decisions faster, so you can stop repeating the same mistakes, so you can begin to grow on purpose instead of by accident. And this isn't about only reflecting on failure. Success teaches just as much if you're willing to pay attention. Ask yourself, what worked? Why did it work? How did I show up differently? What part of me had to grow to make that happen? And how can I take that same mindset into the next challenge? Most people assume the learning will happen automatically, but it doesn't. Learning is a choice. It's something you do deliberately, not passively. You don't just gain wisdom because time passes, you gain wisdom because you ask for it. From the experience, from the people around you, and most importantly, from yourself. And when you build that habit, something powerful happens. You start to see patterns. You start to understand not just what you're doing, but why. You notice that every time things go wrong, it's not random. There's a root cause, a belief, a blind spot, a moment where fear took over, or ego got loud, or clarity got lost. And suddenly, you're not stuck anymore. Because now you're not just reacting, you're responding, you're learning, you're adjusting, you're leading yourself. That's what a winning mindset is. Not someone who never fails, not someone who always gets it right, but someone who extracts meaning from everything so nothing is wasted. Even the hard moments, especially the hard moments, because that's where the deepest lessons live. In the failure, in the misstep, in the disappointment. And if you're willing to ask hard questions, you'll find that every failure was a message. Every rejection was redirection. Every delay had something to teach you about patience, about process, about perseverance. But you have to pause long enough to hear it.
Journaling can be powerful, not for the sake of being poetic, but as a tool for clarity. A few minutes a day. What did I learn today? What challenged me? What felt off? What energized me? What do I want to do differently tomorrow? That's not wasted time. That's how you start to lead yourself. That's how you build self-awareness, and with it, self-mastery. And don't do it alone. Get feedback from mentors, from peers, from the people who've seen you in the messy moments. Ask them, what do you see that I might be missing? Where do you think I'm holding back? What's one thing I could do better? It takes courage to ask, but it takes wisdom to listen. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be better. And the people who keep getting better, they're not smarter, they're not luckier, they're just more willing to learn, to get honest, to stay curious, to stop assuming they know everything. Because every day, every single day is a chance to get better if you're paying attention. And that's the key, attention. We grow where we focus. And if your focus is just on the next goal, you miss the richness of what you're living through right now. Every moment you push through doubt, every choice you make to rise when you could have coasted, every failure you turn into a lesson, those are the moments that shape who you're becoming, and they deserve your attention, your reflection, your respect. So yes, work hard, dream big, take action, but don't forget to pause, to reflect, to ask what life is teaching you, because without that pause, you're just running. With it, you're rising. And the people who rise, they're the ones who stay connected to their growth. They don't just chase success, they understand it. They don't just want to win, they want to deserve the win. And that happens when you're willing to learn from every step you take. Because in the end, it's not about being flawless, it's about being intentional. It's not about never falling, it's about never wasting the fall. It's not about having all the answers, it's about asking better questions consistently. That's what reflection gives you, not just wisdom, but direction. And with direction comes momentum. And with momentum, you're not just building a mindset, you're building a legacy.